Good evening, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Here we present to you tonight's news bulletin. First, the headlines. A number of wilayas of the Sultanate of Oman witnessed heavy to moderate rains. The US warns Moscow it will impose devastating sanctions if Russia launches a new attack on Ukraine. And new virus infections driven by Omicron soar in Australia. Thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends a cabal of greetings to His Excellency Lieutenant General Abdul Fattah al-Burhan, head of Sudan's Transitional Military Council, on the occasion of his country's Independence Day. His Majesty the Sultan also sends a cabal of greetings to His Excellency Miguel Diaz-Canel, President of the State and Council of Ministers of Cuba, on the occasion of his country's National Day. Heavy thunder showers are expected to fall during the coming hours, which can reach up to 30 to 80 millimeters over some areas in the Sultanate of Oman. The thunder showers will be accompanied with fresh downdraft winds, hail, and a flow of some wadis due to flash floods over the governorates of Musandam, Al-Buremi, Al-Dhahira, North and South Al-Batina, Masqat and Al-Dakhiliya, North and South Al-Sharqiyya. The Civil Aviation Authority advises all to take precautions during rainfall and flash floods, check the sea state before sailing, and keep monitoring the official weather bulletins. A number of wilayas of the Sultanate of Oman witnessed heavy to moderate rains today, which caused a number of wadis and tributaries to overflow. Here are some scenes from the wilayas of North Al-Batina. Again, a number of villages in the Wilaya of Buremi witnessed heavy to moderate rains, which led some wadis and their tributaries to overflow. These are some pictures of a number of wadis. Similarly, a number of wilayas of the governors of Al-Dhahira witnessed heavy to moderate rains, which led some wadis and their tributaries to overflow. Here are some scenes from the Wadi Bayha in the wilaya of Yanqal. The Municipal Affairs Council in the Wilaya of Hala in the Governorate of Al-Buremi continues the implementations of internal roads project in some village of the Wilaya. The project is being implemented with support from the private sector under the supervision of Mahada municipality. 6 villages will benefit from this project. The roads will facilitate movement to and from these villages, connecting them with the main road. The Directorate General of Education in the Governorate of North Al-Batina concluded the activities of Media Coordinators Forum with the participation of media coordinators in the schools of the Governorate. The event focused on skills needed by media coordinators and the relation between media field and education process. The forum also discussed ways to develop innovative media content and dealing with various social media platforms. Still to come in our news bulletin. The fireworks to welcome New Year in the Australian city of Sydney. Once again, welcome to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. International news. Russian President Vladimir Putin said yesterday warned his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden in a call that new Western sanctions against Moscow could rupture ties between Russia and the United States and would be a big mistake. But Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said today Russia was satisfied with the phone conversation, which he said centered on security guarantees that Moscow wants from the West amid the buildup of Russian forces close to the Ukrainian border. The United States has repeatedly warned Moscow it will impose devastating sanctions if Russia launches a new attack on Ukraine. Russia is said to hold talks on the guarantees if it is seeking with the U.S. in Geneva on January 10th, with the NATO in Brussels on January 12th, and under the auspices of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe in Vienna on January 13th. New coronavirus infections soared again in Australia today to a record of more than 32,000 just days after surpassing 10,000 for the first time. Experts say the explosion is being driven by the highly contagious Omicron variant and a recent relaxation of restrictions in Sydney and other areas. More than 15,000 of the new cases were reported in Sydney. Another 5,000 cases came from elsewhere in New South Wales State, while almost 6,000 were confirmed in Victoria State, home to the second largest city of Melbourne. While hospitalizations and deaths have been increasing from the surge so far, they haven't reached comparative levels seen in previous outbreaks. In New South Wales, state officials reported 6 new deaths, while 763 patients were hospitalized, including 69 in intensive care. As Omicron spreads ever more gloom around the globe ahead of New Year's Eve, the French government implemented new COVID-19 measures today in an effort to curb the transmissions of the Omicron coronavirus variant. Paris authorities have cancelled their annual New Year's Eve fireworks display on the Champs-Élysées and called on people to avoid large gatherings, although they didn't impose a curfew. Residents and tourists are now required to wear face masks outdoors as of today. The rule applies to those aged 12 and older, except cyclist people on motorcycles, inside vehicles, and those doing sports. Those who do not comply will face a fine of 135 euros. Mask wearing is already mandatory inside shops, public facilities, office buildings, and public transport across France. Blazes continued to burn last night in the U.S. state of Colorado after wind-fueled wildfires broke out near the city of Denver. An estimated 580 homes, a hotel and a shopping center burned and tens of thousands of people were evacuated. At least one first responder and 6 others were injured, and there could be more injuries and deaths possible due to the intensity of fires that quickly swept across the region as winds gusted up to 169 kilometers per hour. The blaze spans 6.5 square kilometers and has engulfed parts of the area in smoky oranges skies and sent residents scrambling to get to safety. Evacuations have been ordered for the city of Louisville, home to about 21,000 people, and Superior, which has another 13,000 residents. The neighboring towns are roughly 32 kilometers northwest of Denver, in an area filled with middle and upper middle class subdivisions surrounded by shopping centers, parks and schools. Extreme weather in Alaska that has brought record high temperatures and torrential downpours has left authorities in the far northern U.S. state warning of ice Mageddon. Huge sheets of ice are blocking roads and choking traffic in Fairbanks, Alaska's second largest city, which has coined the neologism a play on Armageddon to describe the chilly impasse. Scientists say the unchecked burning of fossil fuels and other human activity is changing the climate, making it more unpredictable and prone to wild swings. Weather specialists called the conditions of the past few days very unusual. Hours after thermometers on Kodiak Island in the south reached 19.4 degrees Celsius, the warmest December temperature ever recorded in Alaska. The interior of the state saw 25 millimeters of rainfall in just a few hours, a downpour unseen in decades. Then, when temperatures plummeted again, it all froze. Fireworks were launched over Sydney Harbour at 9 p.m. local time today, ahead of the New Year's fireworks display at midnight. The earlier display, curated by artist Black Douglas this year, is a traditional New Year's family event, so children can enjoy the fireworks without having to stay up late. Meanwhile, a light display brought in the new year in Auckland, New Zealand today at night after authorities cancelled several fireworks displays. The decision was made as a precautionary approach in a country which hasn't seen any community spread of the Omicron variant. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. A number of wilayas of the Sultanate of Oman witnessed heavy to moderate rains. The UN warns Moscow it will impose devastating sanctions if Russia launches a new attack on Ukraine. And new virus infections driven by Omicron soar in Australia. And with that, we come to an end of tonight's news bulletin for 2021. As the new year is around the corner, the entire news team wishing you and your family a wonderful 2022 ahead, hoping that the new year brings lots of exciting opportunities in our lives, free from pandemic of COVID-19. Happy New Year.